What is up, NBA fans? I am Jason Burgos for Sportsnaut.com, and I have the great pleasure of being joined by one of the best NBA reporters in the game. He's done stints as a beat writer for the Bulls, the Warriors, the Nets, and now just does it all for ESPN, the powerhouse sports media company now. And that is the one and only Nick Friedell. Nick, thank you so much for the time today.
Absolutely, Jason. It's good to be with you.
So this is one of the more fascinating times of the year in NBA because of the drafts in the rear view, free agency's coming up, about to kick off. But one of the bigger stories now is kind of about a trade, and it's about Damian Lillard's endless will he or won't he debate. The Trailblazers did not trade their draft picks like some thought they might do. The GM pretty much said last week he has no intention of trading him. They were supposed to meet with him recently and stuff like that. You know, it seems like the team was probably going to try and sell him on why they can be better next year. From what you know, maybe even what you're hearing, how do they make him a believer they will do what is necessary to be a better team next season?
Well, they've got to sell Dame on something they've been selling him on for a while now, which is patience. Because for as good as that team may be with Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe, they're just not very good right now. And that's what it really boils down to. The ball is in Lillard's court. Either he stays, as he has told me, and so many other people that cover the NBA, he wants to be in Portland, doesn't want to go to another team, wants to play in one jersey his entire career. Or we're at that turning point where he decides, I'd like to try and go win a title, because it's just not going to happen in Portland anytime soon. And even if those players develop, the younger players, Lillard is about to be 33 years old. He doesn't have too many years in his prime left. He's one of the best guards that we've ever seen in the game, but he has to make the choice. And if he's going to make the choice, now's the time to do it.
The constant word from the team for years is we're not going to trade this guy. And unlike many other superstars, Lillard really never seems to be looking for a way out. In your opinion, what makes him different than we all know the Kevin Durant's, the Kyrie Irvings that will ask for trade, Carmelo Anthony's. What makes him different than those guys, and that he shows this loyalty to the team, to the city, that is kind of uncommon nowadays?
It very much is, and I think part of it is that he really enjoys and feels comfortable in Portland. He said many times he's comfortable, his family's comfortable, and that goes a long way. But we're going to find out just how loyal he is over the course of we'll see how many days and potentially weeks and months there, because Dame has made his career not only being one of the top players in the game, but being one of those guys that you never questioned. Hey, he will be here for the long haul. And he's also one of the rare guys I don't think that's going to get criticized if he does leave. People are going to say, hey, Blazers are going through another rebuild. They're not close to competing. Now's the time. But the difference for him is that he wants to be that loyal player who has stayed in one place. But loyalty is a two-way street, as we know very well in pro sports. And if he doesn't feel like they are making that commitment to try and get better as quickly as they can, then maybe he does end up wanting to get out.
So let's talk about that. The surprise moment that Portland Trailblazers fans probably don't want to happen comes. He says, nah, Scoot Henderson, playing with him, not really blowing the hair back. Are the Heat the favorites to land him? That their name continues to be bandied about. Is it the Nets? The Nets, arguably, maybe they have the better assets to offer in a possible trade. Or is there a dark horse team that people aren't expecting, sort of like maybe the Suns were in a way when they got Durant? Is there a team that isn't being talked about that could be serious for him?
It's the Heat. I mean, it's the Heat. It's Dame saying in a podcast with Brian Custer, hey, if I were to go, Miami would be right there as far as places I would want to land. I know Brooklyn has a lot of assets, but the other part of this is if you're Brooklyn and you're just coming out of the KD, Kyrie, Harden era, yeah, you could land Dame and you could get better, but how close are you still to a title? If you're Sean Marks in that front office, I'm only making that kind of move if I feel like he's the missing piece. The Nets have a few more pieces to get back to where they were. If you're Miami, it does feel like he's the missing piece. It feels like there would be a basketball fit, and we hear so much about Heat culture. Dame Lillard would fit very well into what they've built down there for years. So I'd be surprised if it were anywhere other than Miami, but I've been around the NBA long enough to know just when you think one thing is going to happen, something else usually does.
There has been a lot of talk about James Harden, of course, but it seems like he may end up going back to the 76ers, and that really seems, it makes the most sense on a lot of levels for him to go back to the Sixers. First, what is your read on how that situation has plays out, him, Houston, 76ers, and everything? And if Houston doesn't land him, which it seems unlikely, where does the team go from there with the team with the most cap space? Is it the Van Vliet and Brooks, like there's been rumored? Is it a Kyle Kuzma? Or do they give Kyrie Irving the market he wants and something to bet against?
Let's start with the Harden aspect of this is fascinating because Harden's got to decide, do I want to try and still win with Embiid? And they were really close to knocking off Boston in the second round. Or do I want to go somewhere where I know I'm comfortable in Houston and just get a bunch of shots up with a young team that is trying to find their way? It feels like right now he may go back to Philly, especially because of his relationship with Daryl Morey, but nobody's going to know for sure until he comes out and makes that call. So if you're Harden, your best chance to win a ring is going to be in Philly. It's likely the best chance at this stage in your career that you're going to have. Now, if Houston doesn't land Harden and they have all that cap space that you mentioned, the issue for them is I don't know if I'd be keen on adding just anybody to fill it up because you've got all these young players. You've got Ime Udoka coming in as the new coach. You have a group that is ready to kind of find its way together. Now, I'm sure they're going to look to add a veteran or two, whether you want to invest heavily in Fred VanVleet, who is a hell of a player, but at that price that it's going to take to get him, is that the kind of guy that is going to push you that much closer to where you need to be? I don't think so right now. It would shock me if they went after Kyrie. I think Kyrie ends up in Dallas because Dallas can offer the most money. But if you're Houston, you are so far away from any kind of contention. I would be very cautious with the length in any deal. Bring in guys you want to fill up that space, but bring them in on a year or two, not 3 or 4, because it's just not worth it given how much uncertainty there is with the rest of that roster.
As a longtime Knicks fan, I bet against Jalen Brunson. He was fantastic, probably the best free agent signing of last season from any team. Is there a guy in this class that can be that Jalen Brunson, that maybe he's a little bit under the radar, a little bit under-respected, but if he gets that kind of spotlight, kind of opportunity, he really can flourish, become that 1A guy? Is it Van Vliet? Is it Kuzma? Is there anybody out there? Or kind of this is a little bit of a weaker free agent market?
This is a very weak market compared to what we've seen in the past. As far as the question goes, I would say it's probably Van Vliet because we've seen him help a team win a title. He is a major reason why that Toronto group was able to get to where they got with Kawhi, with Kyle Lowry. He just played an integral role. Now, is there another Brunson? No. I mean, Brunson was just awesome for that Knicks team with Tibbs. He fit in perfectly. But the reality is this summer, as much as the NBA loves to play up free agency, the draft, the shifting that we've seen for so many years, it's just not a very strong summer in that regard. There are just not a lot of guys that are on the market, and even more, there are not a lot of guys that we actually believe would switch teams that would make that much of a difference. So I would say everybody needs to get their rest this summer because I am sure we'll be talking about a whole bunch more storylines heading into the season. But even with Lillard, will he stay, will he go? He is not a big enough name nationally that is going to rock the boat the way that the KD-Kyrie conversation directed everything all of last summer.
I don't think the Warriors trading Jordan Poole was necessarily shocking considering the salary tax implications they had in the coming years and stuff like that. But the return of Chris Paul seemed to be a bit surprising for a lot of people. What are your thoughts on the deal? They were talking about it, your colleagues on ESPN earlier. It didn't seem to be big on his fit. Is he a good fit for this team? Is that a strange move? And if Bob Myers was still in charge, does that trade happen?
As far as Paul's fit with the Warriors, when I first saw that deal, I was like, they did what? I mean, it's really just a salary dump to get off of Jordan Poole's money. And that's what everybody has to remind themselves. But with Paul, he is a Hall of Fame guard. He's had his ups and downs, certainly with the Warriors over the years. But they all know how good he can still be in a very limited role. Where I would push back on anyone is when I hear, oh, well, Chris Paul's there. He can help them off the bench. Are the Warriors that much closer to a title? That's where I go, wait. I don't see that part happening because I don't see him being that kind of difference maker at this stage of his career. I don't believe that he is the same type of player close than what we've seen even from a few years ago. I do think he'll help. I just don't think he will help them go to some different place, especially offensively. Now, as far as the Bob Myers aspect of this was Mike Dunleavy Jr.'s first big swing on any deal. I think he was smart to get off that Poole money, especially because it allows for Draymond to come back, which I think is only a matter of time. I'd be shocked if he landed anywhere else. Then you have to decide what you're going to do next summer with Clay. The issue for the Warriors is this is one of, if not their last chance with Steph still in the prime that he's in. Because we could talk about Draymond and Clay and Chris Paul and all these other names. If Steph's not Steph, like he's been the last couple of years, it's over for the Warriors. So he has to maintain the level that he's at. I think he can at least for one more year. But after that, you're going to be stuck with an aging Steph, an aging Draymond, and a Klay Thompson who's just not the same coming back off those injuries.
And you perfectly transitioned into where I was going next because you're an elite level member of this media game. You already know it's coming already. So you nailed it. I mean, Draymond Green, it seems like moving Poole was helpful in re-signing him. He seems likely. But is there any chance? Could the Pistons or somebody could the Pistons pull with maybe more money, come home, be the man, no doubt, on this team? Would that sway him? And if not, why opt out? Is he just opting out? Is he going to get that much more than $27 million? Is he going to get just $32 million? Was it worth it for that, or will they really pay him and he might end up getting like $40 million a year?
I think the key for Draymond is the years. He knew he could opt out and get the security of whether it's 3, 4, we'll see. But he knew that there was more guaranteed money on the table. So whether or not he can get that much more in a year remains to be seen. But he knew that now was the time to strike as far as getting that extra cash later on. And do I think he ends up anywhere else? No. I think he knows what he represents to the Warriors, and the Warriors know what Draymond represents to the organization. When you have that type of middle ground and when you have the deep pockets of Joe Lacob, the owner, you find a way. Plus, I don't think Draymond is going to turn his back on Steph because they know what they've been through together. They know that they've won championships together, and they know they're better together than they are apart. So that would really surprise me if he went elsewhere.
Obviously, the Bucks were not happy with the shocking way their season ended, and then Chris Middleton, he's surprisingly, I thought probably a lot of people thought maybe he might just opt in. He opts out of the contract, big contract that he had left. Do they make any notable moves, or can they make any notable moves this summer? And is Middleton's move similar to like what you just referenced to Draymond? It's really not about more money. It's just about guaranteeing long term. He's got stuff guaranteed, like the long term money, and he ends up just staying. And this kind of team still looks the same next year as it did this year.
I think they're going to look a lot like they did last year. I think Middleton comes back. I think in the end Lopez comes back, but I still think Milwaukee, as they're constructed, can win. Giannis went down in that first round series. it was kind of a shock to the system. Jimmy went crazy for the Heat in a very good way. It was putting up points all over the place. Milwaukee still has an unbelievable core. And if you're Middleton and you can get healthy over the summer and finally kick away all those nagging injuries that have been bothering you, then I think they're going to be in really good shape. I know that if you're Middleton at this stage of your career, you're just looking to get as much money and, again, as many years as you can. I wouldn't be concerned if I were a Bucks fan, but to the point about the rest of the roster, that's the issue. How do you help what you need depth-wise at the periphery? And how do you find those guys who are going to fill in some of the blanks there? That's what John Horst and that front office have to figure out. But this is still a team that is really good. They've won a ton of games, and with Adrian Griffin coming in as the new coach, they've got a chance to reset from where they've been at the last few seasons.
All right, just have 3 more questions. We got to get to the most important. We got to talk the Knicks. The Knicks are the most important. I mean, as much as the Nets try, it's a Knicks city. It's always going to be a Knicks city. Are they going to be aggressive? I mean, yeah, they can make the smaller moves, and that's great. And they have the exception now, the $12 million with Rose off the books and stuff like that. But is it pretty much Paul George rumors? Is that the thing? Is it Karl-Anthony Towns? You mentioned on ESPN yesterday, pie in the sky, please, Joel Embiid, please. But, are they going to do anything real impactful, or are they just going to continue to stay patient, and wait till that right moment, and we'll just go into the season with the same team most part?
Patience, and I know that is not something that Knicks fans want to hear at all, but that's the reality of where they're at. They've just got to wait. I don't see that difference maker coming available this summer. They've done such a good job of holding on to their picks, holding on to the assets. They added Brunson. You would think in year 4 under Tibbs, that group is going to get a little better, especially defensively.
Yeah.
I believe that the Knicks will be able to land the star that they hope for down the line. I don't think that's going to happen at any point in the next year, especially this summer. So hold on. Things are much better than they've been in a long time, and just hope the younger players continue to improve behind where Brunson is at right now.
Now another marquee team, the Lakers, they might have some flexibility, also similar to the Knicks, maybe can do smaller moves and stuff like that. But it seems like all indications are they're going to do everything they can to keep Austin Reaves. Understandable, he's really flourished under them, really become an important player. But there's this talk that he might get $100 million offer, and they're gonna pay it to keep him. Is this possibly poison pill, Linsanity for the Lakers, or does Austin Reaves have much more upside than Lin did, and it's a worthwhile $100 million risk going from $1 million a year to probably $25 million a year for him?
It's a gamble if you're the Lakers that you almost have to take, because he was so important for that team a year ago. He found a rhythm with LeBron and that group, and it seems like he's still getting a lot better. If you're the Lakers, though, there aren't a lot of other options that you have. Everybody is so focused on what do the Lakers do. What they do is they bring back the guys that they believe in, and they hope that everybody has some more time to develop that rhythm and get even better. The thing that I would caution any Laker fan is if you're banking on D'Angelo Russell to be some kind of major difference maker in the postseason, good luck. D'Angelo Russell can put up a bunch of points, and he's a really solid player. But when you need the players that are going to make the plays and hit the shots late in games that matter, that is not a guy that would be high on my list. So what happens with Reeves and that deal, we'll see. But if you're the Lakers, I don't think you have much of a choice.
Last question. I wanted to talk about Sacramento Kings. They freed up a good amount of salary cap space during the draft. People are looking at them now maybe as players, free agency, maybe a trade or something like that. They had a fantastic season last year, a lot of upside. Could they be players? I mean, is it just all talk? And think the idea of Sacramento Kings free agent, big making an impact seems counterintuitive. But could they go for a Kuzma? Could they maybe swayed. Maybe that's another Draymond connection because of the coach and stuff like that. Can they make a move, or do they just go smaller, get a few good veterans to surround the two stars they have and give them a little bit more support?
I would go with route B in that case. I would use the money that you cleared out after making that deal on draft night, and I would say, hey, let's see how we want to build this thing. But in the short term, let's look to add another veteran or two. And Mike Brown, he is such a solid coach, especially on the defensive end. Let's see how they look in year two with Brown and how he can develop what he already has in place. Sacramento had an unbelievable year. They're going to be better, but they need to find the right young pieces to grow with the group that they already have in place. I trust Mike Brown. I think he's going to get them where they need to be. It just takes time.